Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop for another flea market finds segment, and this is going to be tools and stuff that I picked at the first tractor show of the year 2023, which was in May. And one of the first things I spotted at a dealer was he had this interesting little size block right here. All of these holes are drilled and tapped, I believe, or are they not? I think this is a project maybe somebody started and didn't finish. Yeah, so it's interesting to me because at the top here, the top row, it says tap, and then it says drill, and then it says body drill. And all of these holes are not threaded except for like this one. So I don't know whether or not his intention was to end up tapping threads in all of these holes and use this as a check for thread sizes, because it has thread sizes on it, 540, 632, 832. They're all standard screw sizes. And the drill taps are numbers, so those don't, obviously these you could just stick the drill in the hole, corresponding hole, and figure out what number it is. Body drill, I'm not sure about, and that looks like that's just more number sizes of drills. And another odd thing is he's got 2 1/4-inch holes right next to each other for some reason. So, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of neat. Guy took the time to make it out of a nice sheet of brass, attached it to this wood block, and I paid $5 for it, so no big deal there. Put his initials on it. Actually, I paid $10 for these 2 pieces, so figure I'm into each one for $5. This is a Bradford brand early transistor radio. I'm assuming it's early because it's AM only. I have no idea if it works. The leather case is in decent shape. I believe I had already opened it up and checked the back to make sure there were no batteries that were left in it, stored in it, that would ruin the, ruin the case and the electrodes. So you just get this piece of cardboard, flex it out of the way. There we go. Looks like this thing used 6 AA batteries back in the day. At the end of the video, I'll clear some stuff off the bench here, grab my bench power supply, and we'll put some voltage to this thing and see if it works, if you're curious to see whether or not it is a working radio. And it does say here, just for the heck of it, it does say made in Japan, so. It also says top quality, hand stitched, so I just like the look of it. Somebody put works okay on it. We shall see. I got this little pile right here for $10 off of one dealer. This is a automatic center punch. It works fine. It has no name on it that I can see whatsoever, so it's a El Cheapo. This is a, I think this is a, yeah, this is a Blue Line center punch. It's actually in great shape. And this is, I think, a Craftsman. Yep, this is a Craftsman 3/8 center punch. But I mainly wanted this little anvil right here. So this is kind of a neat one. It's got some battle scars on the top. It's got this kind of original looking green paint left on it. I don't think I saw any other markings to indicate who might have made this, which might have made the value significantly more. Yeah, so no numbers or anything stamped on it. Last one of these I think I bought, I paid $20 for, and ended up having to sell it for $20 just to recoup my money. These I guess these just aren't as big a seller as I thought they were. Probably unless you get the right one and you're a collector wants to pay more money for them. But I don't know, it's kind of a neat thing. I got this pile from a dealer that I deal with on more than one occasion. I've bought from him. I paid $20 for this pile, and quite frankly, there's not much margin for me here on resale on this pile at $20. But I know him, and he didn't really have much for me that trip, so I just felt like I wanted to spend some money with him. So this is, I forget what brand this is. I don't think this is a Noga. I think this is a oh, who the heck makes this? But this is one of these style like this that has the telescoping shaft. It's got the quick release collet. You know, you just pull down on it and that pops right out. And typically this opens up. I hear additional bits in there, but how do we open this one? So usually on like the Nogas and the oh, I'm drawing a blank. The other name. I think the other Israeli made deburring tools. They usually have a cap on the back here. You unscrew the cap or pop the cap out, and you have your extra bits stored in there. This sounds like it's got an extra bit in there, but how do you get to it? This is just for making it telescope, right? Oh, all right. So you do you really just throw them in here? All right, whatever. This is a General Hardware automatic center punch. Also works perfectly fine. Here's a scriber. This is also a General Hardware. I usually do not leave them like this because it's dangerous. You just flip this around, keep you from stabbing yourself. This is a little Starrett tap wrench, heavily engraved unfortunately, but other than that, it's a nice little Starrett tap wrench. This long center drill, and these three what appear to be new old stock Starrett pin punches. No, I'm sorry, Brown and Sharp. These are all Brown and Sharps. And then this, I think, was the Starrett. No, this is a General. It's got that early Starrett square shank punch look to it, though. Kind of a cute little guy. Well, you're a mile away. Did you even see that? This little guy is what I was talking about. Was kind of cute. Look at this, next to a penny. I found a dealer had this old hand vise right here. It's in decent shape considering at some point somebody broke it and it was welded. I've never seen that ever on one of these. I can't imagine how much force somebody put on this thing to break this. Anywho, either that or, well, I was gonna say either that or it was welded to something, but I don't think so. I think it, yeah, I think it really was welded because of a repair. Anyways, it's also missing the spring that normally makes this just kind of want to open on its own. No big deal though. He only had $5 on this, so I paid the $5 asking price for it. Alright, moving right along, another little hand vise for $5. This one is in much better condition than this other one here, but this one, yeah, this one's even got the spring in it that's missing on this one that allows this to open on its own. $5 for that. That was a good deal. This unusual wrench, this is one of these, it's like a speed nut wrench that I had before, but this one's from Louisville, Kentucky, drop forged steel. This is called the Red Chief Manufacturing Company, and this is the LG automatic wrench. Works as the same way as a speed nut wrench, which were made, I think, in Chicago. So different part of the country. Interestingly enough, patent date on this is 1915. I want to say, I think the speed nut wrench that I had a patent date in 1918 on it. I'm going by memory. I also like it's still got some of the original paint. It's got a cool name, you know, Red Chief. Anything that has a Native American name to it now seems like it's got some extra collectability. But anyways, $5 for that. That was cool. Guy had this, all he had for machinist tools, one R8 collet, just one lowly collet. I don't even think there's a brand name on it. Got it for $1. Another dealer had this thing, which I really don't know what to make of it. I think it's almost like an inclinometer type of device, maybe. So I think it's supposed to be sat like this, and then as it's, you know, as the incline changes, it goes up and down. And I think, yeah, right, this has got this little switch on the top that I think will lock it, maybe. Yeah, That seems to lock it. Okay. So I have no idea what this thing's worth. I just thought it was kind of cool. So I paid him $5 or $10 for this thing. I think this is brass, this case. Kind of hard to tell, but where the paint's flaking off on the end piece here, that looks like it's brass. But then oddly enough, these other side pieces look like they're white metal or aluminum. So if anybody knows who makes one of these things and what it was used for, it might even be a plumber's tool. Might even be for setting the pitch on a drain pipe. I don't know. I'm a sucker for old tools. Speaking of which, here's a neat little 0 to 1/2 inch micrometer. This I got for $5, which is a great deal. It's Socket Screws Incorporated is the name on this one. A lot of these were like given as premiums. This one's made in the USA. Yeah, I mean, it looks a little too crude to be a Starrett. Just saying, you know, typically none of these were manufactured by the names you find on them. When they say like Socket Screws Inc., that's typically, it's like that's the name of the company that had these made for them so they could give them away. But it's in this nice little case, which I think is the original case because this appears to be can you read it, Mike? It's easy. A little paperwork that came with it here. And that actually looks like this micrometer. So it's not like this paperwork was with something else and they added it later. I think it actually all came together like this in this little presentation box. I think some of my collector guys will like that little guy. From the guy I got that from, I got this, I think from that. I don't remember. But I got this right here. This is an OMAG, O-M-A-G, this little case. And what this is really kind of cool. It's an optical flat. Seems like it's a little vintage one, so I thought that was kind of cool. The little leather case with a brass snap on it. And another guy put together this pile of stuff, which included the item in this box that he had a price of $15 on. This Ford tractor manual. This is an original Ford tractor manual for 1955 to 1960 tractors. So this is kind of cool. This covers the 600, 700, 800, 900, 601, 701, 801, 901, and 1801 series tractors. Some of the pages are loose, falling out, but all of the information in here is still good and usable. The back cover has come off, but that's a nice find for somebody who has one of these models of tractors and doesn't have a manual for it. And I got him to sell me this manual, these two automatic center punches, which both need tips. This one's just another general hardware, but this is actually a pretty nice Starrett one. And I think, yeah, they both still work. They just need new tips. I got these 3 items and the $15 item for $20. So I figure I'm into the manual and the 2 center punches for $10, and we'll call it $10 for this little doohickey, which is a very interesting tachometer. I've had quite a few of these old tachometers over the years that I've found, and I've never come across this particular one. So this is a Jones tachometer. Then there's this little label that is attached to it that actually says the Productometer, Durant Manufacturing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But in the past, I've found that typically these are foreign made. Many of them were French, and then they get imported by a tool manufacturer or tool dealer who then puts their own name on it. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if this isn't one of those situations. It's got a serial number stamped in the back. It's pretty beefy. It does have some damage here to, this almost appears like a Bakelite non-metallic bezel. No, maybe not. There's a brass ring in here that holds the glass in, but it's got a chip right there. And I think this is kind of rough shape, but I just, again, not having seen one of these particular ones before, it intrigued me. Let's see if this paperwork tells us anything more. Well, this says Jones Motorola, Stamford, Connecticut. Fairfield Avenue, Stamford, Connecticut. So maybe this is a US made one. Interesting. The Jones hand tachometer is ruggedly constructed to withstand shocks and to give heavy-duty service. The operating mechanism is entirely on ball bearings and requires no lubrication whatsoever. Under no circumstances should the instrument be taken apart and oiled or greased, as this may cause the mechanism to stick. It says it's furnished in the carrying case with the following accessories. A steel triangular tip, conical rubber tip, rubber-lined metal cone tip, extension rod, and small-sized convex rubber tip. So it should be 5 items in here. And we've got, there's the rod, and then 1, 2, there's the 4. So that's all complete. And then what do we got over here? Oh, this is a drive wheel. So is this an extra accessory they didn't normally include? Maybe. So unlike many of these French-made ones that I've run into in the past, this doesn't appear to have any sort of buttons or anything that you have to push to engage it. And there's also no range mechanism. So typically they have a barrel part here with a knob you turn to change the range, the multiplier. So this will only measure RPM in hundreds. Huh, it actually seems to be working. Let's grab something. Alright, so I was able to fit this triangular tip in the chuck of my drill here. So just get that on there. Oops. Why that is so wobbly. That's actually the chuck on my drill is not very true. Never really noticed that before until just now. Well, that seems to work because it's I don't know how accurate it is. I mean, it's measuring about 1400 RPM. I think high speed on this drill is probably supposed to be 1200, but that's probably no load. It would be higher, I guess, right? Actually, this says 0 to 1500 RPM, so I'm right in that ballpark there. I'm not here proofing this thing, so I don't care really. I just want to know that it's working at all. And it is. Alright, so moving right along, one of the first buys of the day was found this dealer who had this box of cant twist clamps. These are all genuine cant twist. They're not the knockoffs, which is nice. And they're all in pretty decent shape. And so I asked, I forgot what he said originally he wanted per clamp, but I was able to talk him into selling them to me if I took the whole box for $5 a piece. And so that ended up being, there's actually 7 clamps in here. So there's 6 good sized ones, and then he threw in the little guy right there, the 1-inch cant twist. So $30 for that box of 7 cant twist clamps. And then guy I saw in the morning had this J.R. Williams clamp. I like these. I've got a few of these now. They're kind of neat looking. I like the design, the look of them. They've got this combination knurl, and also you can put a wrench on there. And he had $10 on this when I saw him in the morning. I tried to get it for $5. He said no. By the end of the day, I came back by, and he was willing to take my $5. So this is a number 304. When they're singles like this, you can pick them up for pretty cheap. And then I just keep doing that, and eventually I might even end up with a pair. For all I know, I've got another one sitting over there already. So I might, you know, like parallel clamps, some of the more expensive Starrett ones and that, I might actually end up just selling those because they have more value to some other people. Whereas for me, just for, you know, actually just having a decent clamp I can use, these are perfectly fine for me. All right, and then I think I got this next pile of goodies here for 35 or 40. I don't remember exactly, but it included, he had this Starrett mag base. This is actually a pretty nice mag base. It's kind of in rough shape, but it still seems to work perfectly fine. And what's cool about the Starrett, this model Starrett mag base, which I can't even see the number on this, it's so cruddy, but I have the same one right up here on my workbench. My other bench, I actually have a couple of these. I actually have one of these, or two of these, in their original metal cases, which was fancy schmancy. So this is a Starrett 659. Yeah, so right there it says Starrett it says 659, number 659. So that's what this definitely is. So what's cool about this is that it's nice and really rigid, and it has this mechanism inside this cross beam that you have a knurled knob on the back here, and what that knurled knob does is it actually adjusts. It's a fine adjust for this end right here. So this has got like a spring loaded bit to it, I guess, for shock. And when I rotate this, it's actually moving this. So for fine adjust, you've got this knob on the back, which is unique to this particular model Starrett. Then he had this box right here, and he said this was the attachments for it, and I had to explain to him. He probably didn't even care, but that this was kind of a mismatch of other stuff. That this is actually a box for a Brown and Sharp mag base, the doghouse style mag base. Also, one of those in my collection right here. So this big fella right here, all right, nice big rigid one. That is what originally came in this case. So it actually sat, you can actually see the cutout right here is perfect for the knob to go, and so this sat right in here like this. And as a matter of fact, it will probably rectify that problem right now, since I've got this one alone. Had it all these years, now I can add to it. So the problem is the Starrett here is missing its piece on the end, but I think that is this right here. Yeah, pretty sure. So is that broken? Yeah, it's broken. Well, how did I miss that? Man, oh man. So this piece is broken right here. So you can actually see there's a, right there is a chunk of metal missing. That's not supposed to be, that's supposed to be a captive hole. So that's what allows this to just fall out when it's not supposed to. Maybe I'll fix this at some point. I'll just TIG weld this up and then re-drill the hole. There were two of these doohickeys here, which are for, you can put these on the stem of your drop indicators and change the direction. Sometimes these have a name on them, sometimes they're just unmarked. There was also this, in this box, it was a hermaphrodite caliper. It's a Starrett. This interesting little Brown and Sharp depth gauge. I've had these before. This has got a unique design to it. This rod actually has these little tiny indentations, indented rings or grooves on them, on it, and when you loosen this collet nut, you can actually just loosen it a little bit. You can actually feel where it locks into the next increment, so that lets you change the range without having to change to a different length rod. This is a really early Starrett 98 level. In fact, this doesn't even say that it's a 98. A lot of these really early ones didn't have the number 98 on them. This is case in point, this one here. This is a 6-inch. Has what looks almost like original, well, no. That's probably the original finish there, and then somebody had red paint on it. I don't know. The other issue with this is the cross level here is broken. It's funny, I don't see a break in it, but there's no bubble in there. No fluid in there. Nice little tool maker's clamp. Tool maker's clamp? What the heck am I saying? Nice little tool maker's inside caliper. A really little one. The tool maker's calipers are and dividers are the most expensive in the series. They're the ones that have these round shafts. They were more expensive to manufacture, so they were more expensive to buy. Oh, I'm sorry, that's actually a Brown and Sharp. I just saw Providence, Rhode Island on there, so my mistake. But Starrett made almost an identical one. So let's see if I can sort out in this case here what belongs in here with the what in here belongs to this Starrett mag base, if anything, and what should stay in here with the doghouse. So this very abused little federal indicator, by the looks of it, it actually wants to move. It actually still does move. It's just really, yeah, it's pretty screwed. Well, that's it. That doesn't fit. So maybe they made different sizes of these because this shaft right here is too big for this cutout on this thing. Well, that's disconcerting. Yeah, so this must be a different model than... There's another one I have, this style, and see the case is bigger. Oh, that's this style. Never mind. Well, I figured it out a little bit here. So this was in the box. This is another snug for another one of these big 659s. So that's not going to be much good to me. It's obvious that it's identical to the one that's on there. So that's a Starrett. This is the snug and the cross beam rod, or whatever you want to call it, for the Brown and Sharp that's supposed to be in here, which is like probably a smaller version of this that would have fit in here. And then this piece is a complete mystery to me. Maybe this, no, I don't know what this is. I'll leave it in there for now. And this is obviously the piece that broke off from here, as already mentioned. Oh, I almost forgot, this was also included in that deal with the Ford tractor manual and the other stuff that I mentioned. This box right here full of what appear to be new old stock slitting saws. So like for instance this one, yeah, it's 5" by 0.057 thick by 1. F&D, which is probably the company. HS for high speed steel. Yeah, so here we go. High speed metal slitting saw, F&D Tool Company, Incorporated of Three Rivers, Massachusetts. So that's actually not that far from me. It's probably only about an hour away. And I have never heard of them, oddly enough. So we got those, and then in these little wrappers, these actually say Protect Wrap on them. This must be this anti-corrosive type paper they put on this stuff. These are all also F&D. So is that what's inside these? Is there more of that inside these things? Yeah, so that's what's inside these things here. Well, anyways, you get the gist of it there. All right, so let's get the power supply on the bench. Let's see if that Bradford AM radio works, and then we'll close out this video. We'll call this the end of part 1, and I'll show you the remainder of the stuff in part 2. So here's a neat little feature I just noticed about this radio. The battery holder actually has a connector for a 9-volt transistor battery that just snaps onto it. And if you look, this would actually probably hold a 9-volt transistor cell perfectly fine. So you've got 6 cells in this pack, and each cell is 1.5 volts. 6 times 1.5 is 9 volts. So it appears you can either run this off of 6 AA batteries in series, totaling 9 volts, or one 9-volt transistor battery. And we'll set the power supply to 9 volts. Oh, it was already on.
That whole ceremony that we see at the solemn mass and the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite.
Of the previous parts of the mass, we have that reading or readings at the mass, depending on the day, and then.
Alright, so the volume potentiometer could use a cleaning, but other than that, it seems to be working perfectly fine. So I did look up just to see if any of these have sold previously on eBay, and there were a couple very similar ones to this. That there's one almost exactly like this that somebody's asking $35 for, but that doesn't mean anything. And there's some other ones that have sold that weren't quite this model, but you know, similar style to this, that sold for around $15. So not a very valuable radio, but what the heck. Alright, so I guess we'll call this video a wrap, but this is not the end of this pick. I just don't want this video to get much longer than it already is. So we will, hopefully we will see you in part 2.